Miss A got a lot to say on all the things we go through within the day. Politics, dating, recipes, traveling, and yep, of course, I'm the karaoke queen. I take no L's, I'm always booking flights. This is my lovely lunatic Leo life. Kaboom! Guess who stepped in the room? This is my lovely lunatic Leo life. Kaboom! Guess who stepped in the room? The one and only S.A. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another dope-ass week of my lovely Lunatic Leo Life podcast. And, you know, I'm just so happy this whole season. I've just had amazing guests, and last season I had amazing guests too, don't get me wrong, but I'm just so excited. And today I call him the mayor of Newark. I'm sorry, not sorry, Roz, but I got Starski in the building. You don't like the mayor of Newark?
I'm not the mayor.
You're not the mayor, but you are definitely, or the socialite of Newark, I should say.
I'm a socialite.
Yes. So I got the all right, let me redo it. I got the socialite of Newark, New Jersey, Starski in the building. Thank you so much for coming through.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. I was on his podcast two years ago, 2020. Yeah, no, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Have you in my house during the pandemic?
True. That's true. That's fresh when I was off the boat from fucking Thailand, I believe. Because it was between that and the pandemic. Yes. Okay. So he agreed to come on my show, and I appreciate it. And you know, I'm all about promoting people and inspiring people with others' life stories. So that's why I wanted you to come on the show. Mm-hmm. I always never really knew exactly what you did for work, so in my head he's like Tommy from Martin. Like, he always dapper as hell. I get that a lot. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if I know he got like you do your own thing, so I know you're not like just being a bum or nothing like that. Right. But I'm always like, yo, you ain't got no job, Tommy. Yeah. But he always looking fresh to death, and he's always at the spots to be at.
Thank you. Yeah.
So that's what I want to get into. What do you do?
Oh, I live for a living. Yeah, so I learned years ago to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I learned that being an employee just was not for me, which doesn't mean that being an entrepreneur was easy.
Of course, it's definitely not easy, y'all.
Yeah. But my skills and talents and experience are in marketing and advertising. Okay. So I run a company where we provide marketing services to clients. And I also, publish the TheNewarkTimes and TheNewarkTimes.com. So those are the two things that occupy my time and energy while the sun is out.
Wow. And at night, when the sun is down, what you be doing?
Other things. Two other things.
Specifically two other things. Does that mean you're sharing, or is it private information?
No, I'll leave that to the listener to whatever they want that to mean. Okay, now I'm intrigued. Now I want to know. I am intrigued now. It's my mission to find out for y'all what it is that he does at nighttime. But, as far as I want to get into the entrepreneurship, because, a lot of people see, especially with social media nowadays, they don't show too much of the hard work that they put in through. They don't show the blood, sweat, and tears. They just show the outcome of you working so hard for so many years. Yeah. What made you want to start your own business? What made you leave corporate America? So the story for me kind of starts long before I ever made the decision. Mm-hmm. The story starts with being a kid and watching my parents work. So both of my parents were, gainfully employed, and but neither one of my parents were employed at a place that was suitable for their genius, their gifts, their talent. Like, my mom was better than her job, and I knew it as a kid. So if I knew it, I knew that her boss knew it. Yeah. I know that every other employee knew it. And the problem was, none of that matters if my mom doesn't know it, or if my mom doesn't move by way of that knowledge. Wow. You know what I mean? And so it wasn't something that made me say I want to have my own business, but it was a itch in me. There was something in me that like rubbed me the wrong way about that. And then it just materialized as I got older, and I had jobs, and some were, you know, good paying jobs, and you know, they advanced my professional career and experience and background. But everything has a ceiling unless it's your own.
Right.
Like, you're never gonna have a ceiling for your own thing that you don't create.
Oh, I like that.
But the moment you walk into somebody else's door, there's already a ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's so true.
yeah,
So your parents were better than their jobs.
for sure.
Is that something that they did their whole lives, or did they finally realize that they're better?
No, my parents worked until they retired. Yeah, you know,
And that's not what you wanted to do.
I want to not need to retire. I want to not need to go on vacation. I want to have such control and balance in what I do, and I want to be doing a thing that I don't feel the need to escape from. So, yeah.
I like that.
It's just completely different. It's so very different, you know?
So what do your parents say to you now about how you're living your life and doing your own thing?
You talking about while the sun is up or when the sun is down?
While the sun is up. We're going to get to down. We're going to get to the sundown part. I got a way of bringing things out.
No, I mean, my parents have never, I'm fortunate. My parents have never discouraged me ever from what I was doing, from the person that I am and was and, you know, was growing up as. So I've never heard a discouraging word from them in that regard.
That's good.
Yeah, it's just...
Me growing up, I mean, my parents are always about schooling. My parents are African, y'all, so it's always about schooling. I was never a school person. Like, I hated school from the beginning of time to the end of time. Not that I hated it, it just wasn't for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And my father was smart in math and everything else. I was terrible in math, but reading and spelling, I'm excellent at. Even English, you know? But math wasn't my thing. My father used to sit at the kitchen table. I only remember this happening this one time, but I'm going to drag this shit out, okay? With my homework with a belt. Like, it used to be a thing.
Really?
Yes. We were just talking about it the other day. Like, he used to laugh. I'm like, okay. At first, he didn't believe me when I remembered this shit. But I remember being at the kitchen table at night after he got off of work with the belt. Like, you're not going to sleep until we finish this.
Right.
And if you don't get this shit together, you're going to get your ass beat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, it's like, my parents, they were tough.
Yeah.
And then when I realized that I wanted to do radio, my mother was always supportive of what I wanted to do, but my father was like, he thought I was wasting my time. He was like, if you're not getting paid, why should I listen to it? Mind you, I've been doing radio for almost 20 years and still never really got paid for it. I got paid to get to the studio, maybe that's it, but I still never got paid for it, but I knew that was my passion. I know my voice is my power, so I guess the little girl in me wants to make it big so I can show my dad, you see, I told you I knew what I had back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm happy that, you know, your parents never gave you a discouraging moment at all.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, to compare stories, like my father never went past 8th grade. My mom dropped out of college, and her parents were educators. So I'm sure, like, by the time she had her kids, last thing she's gonna do is put a lot of pressure on them to be, you know, academically excellent past whatever is necessary. You know what I mean? Because, you know, that just wasn't, it wouldn't have made sense, you know what I mean, for them. They wanted us to be sufficient, but my childhood growing up, the expectations or the pressure was more so on us, like, as far as religion than, you know, academia or schoolwork. Got you.
Mine was a little bit of religion. I mean, we went to church almost every Sunday. Growing up, but I was the rebel of the family, I guess, you know, the black sheep or whatever you want to call it, but church wasn't my thing either. Like, I would go, fall asleep, get told to wake up and just sit there like, you know what I'm saying? But one thing I will say that my father did, he used to work at Black Enterprise. He was there for many, many years. He was VP of circulation.
Wow.
And that's the ones who sent out the subscriptions and stuff like that. So he was that for many years, and they always had the entrepreneur conferences, and so he used to take me and my brother to the Kidpreneur conferences. It used to be in Florida, in Orlando. So we would go to those classes while he was doing his thing during the day. And you would think, because I was getting all this free knowledge about being an entrepreneur at a young age, starting like at 9 years old, Look at me now. I didn't take heed because I wasn't a class person. You know what I'm saying? Right. Sitting in class, cold as hell in Florida. I was ready to eat the lunches they gave us, get the free gifts, meet new people from around the United States. You know, that was my thing. Like, I was always a social butterfly, even when I was younger. So classes wasn't for me, but the fact that I got to meet new people, and even Black Enterprise used to have the golf and tennis challenge. I met Serena and Venus when they were young, like when they were we had the beads in their hair, you know what I'm saying? So they taught the class. So I had a lot of experiences, and I was brought up to a lot of people who do great things. Earl Graves was one of the people in my lives back in the day. But it's like I didn't really take from it because it was in a class setting. If it was more hands-on, I feel like I would have been more into it maybe. But again, my path might be different. It might have taken me some shit to go through before I get to where I'm at now. Yeah. You know?
Plus, you never, like, it's in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all in there. It's just a matter of what pulls it back out.
Yeah.
You know? But it's there. Everything that you were taught is in there.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Even just the tone of it, what you were taught. Even like you weren't taught in those settings to be a drone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like I'm sure some of that just shapes just your general outlook and personality.
Yes, I did get a lot from the class, you know, that I wanted to, and stuff that I still remember to this day. Yeah. So I can't say I didn't get nothing out of it, but I wasn't an entrepreneur. Like I tried things, like I sold lemonade. I'm like, fuck that shit, it's not for me. Like little things, you know what I'm saying? But now, as far as an entrepreneur, for me, what I'm trying to do is build my own brand. You know, like my business is me. I'm the entrepreneur. I'm not selling product. You know what I'm saying? Maybe just my voice is my product, I guess. You know. So how was it to start a magazine, an online magazine? That doesn't sound easy.
It's not easy. It's easier than it would have been if it was 20 years earlier.
True.
Or 5 years earlier, for that matter. The thing about starting the New York Times was that it was at a time where after I had contributed to this other like hyperlocal blog, and I was familiar with blogging from that space. I had my own blog at the time, but it wasn't a location specific blog. It was just a lifestyle and interest blog.
Okay.
So what I learned was like, I mean, it's the internet. Which means I'm not buying paper. I'm not buying ink. I'm not, you know, the overhead is just not there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what I learned from my experience was the most difficult part was because it's news media. The most difficult thing was I decided what we were going to be and what we weren't going to be at the beginning. Right? So the New York Times was not going to be a platform where you go to find out who got shot in Newark.
Right, no gossip.
Who got robbed in Newark, any political scandal, those things we were we're not on the table.
Okay.
But that means that the good stories, the lifestyle interest stories, the good business stories, the education, all those stories, as much as you know, there are things to talk about. A lot of the organizations and institutions were not very savvy in terms of media relations. So me saying I want to help tell your story was like, oh, awesome, great. But it was either something that they had divested from, like as far as media relations and PR, or it was just something that when they would share a story or a press release or whatever, excuse me, it was so elementary. And it was like, this might have been okay in 1990.
Right. New age,
but it ain't okay now.
Yeah.
You know, we need pictures, we need video, we need rich media, we need things. Now I'm coughing, right? But so that's been the struggle, is like getting organizations and institutions to do more to tell their own story.
And the thing that's funny about that is you might have helped them realize that they need to get it together for future reasons like this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't realize, like, oh shit, he got a point. We need to get this story ready so we could tell it to other people to get more people to come to us.
Yeah. I mean, Newark is in a place and has been in a place for the past few years now where it's like there's attention. it's one thing if this was, like I said, 10 years ago, or 10 years before we started. We started the New York Times in 2014. If we had done it in
2014?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. But had we tried to do this in 2004, there were a lot less eyes on Newark. There was a lot less interest on Newark. So it was understandable that that organizations and people weren't prioritizing storytelling.
Right.
But now, whether or not you want to tell your story, people are looking, people are listening, people are paying attention. It would serve you to tell a good story.
Yeah.
If you already have people's attention.
Yes. I'm having ideas like, how can I get it onto your magazine? Wait, is it a magazine? What do you call it?
It's not a magazine. I call it a platform.
Okay.
I think magazine there's no such thing as an online magazine
nowadays
anymore.
Yeah.
We only used to call it that because all we were used to was print magazines.
True.
And print newspapers.
It's a new age now.
You know what I mean? Like, I think what's the name was really good about it. Huffington Post. They were really good about identifying as a blog. They didn't call themselves an online newspaper.
Oh, really?
They called themselves a blog.
Wow.
$10 million blog.
Because I would have called them an online newspaper, but it makes sense that they would be a blog, though. I could see why.
Yeah. So I call it a platform.
Okay.
Because in this day and age, it's like, depends on where you interact with the New York Times. Maybe you're more a social media person.
Right.
Maybe you are on the website. Maybe it's at an event that we're activating. So it's like all of these things are ultimately platforms. So I just call it a platform.
Well, congratulations on 8 years, almost 10 years. Because I remember when it first came out.
Yeah.
Can we talk about some controversy?
Sure.
Wasn't there a little beef with Newark Times and somebody else was claiming it or the name of it or something like that?
Yeah, there was this guy who he used to sell T-shirts, and the T-shirts would say the New York Times on them, but in the font of the New York Times.
Okay.
Right. So when we decided to do the New York Times, we were brainstorming names. Like the New York Times was not the first, second, or third name that we were trying to do. The problem is, as far as online real estate is concerned, you have to be able to acquire the domain, the URL. You have to be able to use the social media, the name on the social media platforms. So all the other names that we were trying were either already taken on social media or on the domain. Mm-hmm. The New York Times, the .com was available. Good to me. The Facebook, the Instagram, everything was available. Mm-hmm. So nobody, including this guy, was using the New York Times as an entity. He was putting the name on some shirts. Right. And I don't know exactly why, but I will say this, and I don't really want to give it too much energy, but I'll say this. When we decided to go with the New York Times, he was the first person that I spoke to.
Oh, good. Okay.
Right. And ultimately, he wasn't feeling it, but by that point, it was just a courtesy.
Right, exactly. I'm just letting you know.
I'm not coming for anything other than a courtesy, because you will hear about this. Mm-hmm. And because I knew the guy personally or directly, I'd rather him heard it from me.
That was big of you, by the way.
I'm big.
Yeah, that was big, because people were just been like, fuck that, I'm gonna just do this. But the fact that you even gave him the courtessy.
Yeah. Because, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
It's like anything else. I didn't love my toys as much as a kid until I saw somebody else playing with them. You know what I mean? So I get what it was, and that's all it was.
Yeah.
But anything after that was just a tantrum.
Got you.
But there was never beef. It's not beef. He just didn't like what it was, and I didn't give a fuck that he didn't like it. Right.
Because you were actually taking it somewhere else. And it wasn't the same font, was it? No. So it's just you, the New York Times.
That's corny to me. Why would you use the same font as the New York Times?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I get it.
It's like me starting a site called MyLovelyLunaticLeoLife.
Yeah.
It's clearly a direct pull from you. I'm not trying to be an individual. I'm trying to be in your shadow.
Right.
And I wasn't trying to be in anybody's shadow. So
I get it. And you took the Newark Times and you catapulted that shit. You elevated that shit, okay?
Thank you very much.
So congratulations to having it go almost 10 years strong.
Thank you.
So you also do photography too?
I do photography, yep.
Okay.
Photographers. Photography more than anything for me is just my creative outlet and expression. It used to be poetry and spoken word, and now it's photography.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's something like anything else. Like, it's something that I have monetized, but it's not something that I do for the money.
Okay.
So, I charge because it costs. Mm-hmm. Right? But I don't charge everybody.
Right.
And if I call you and say I want to do a photo shoot with you, there is no charge. Mm-hmm. If you call me and say you want to do a photo shoot, there's a charge.
Right.
Yeah. But
yo, my friends are so dope. Like, I call you my friend, but we don't hang out like that all the time. But we don't have, right. When we see each other, it's always love. Yeah. And I met him through one of my best friends, Kaylin, years ago, like years 2013 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I just automatically felt this pull towards you and Viviana too.
Well, because I was pulling you. We wanted that for, and I was pulling you.
Does that bring us to the nighttime? Like, is this what you do at night? You pull people?
Oh God, no! Please don't put that out there. No, that is not what I'm doing.
I was like, are they swingers on the low?
You thought so? Or you wondered?
I wondered. Yeah. I did.
No.
Okay. I did wonder because all the people I see around are always beautiful people, dope vibes. I was like, yo, they got a little thing going on over here. Like,
that's it.
I want to be part of it. No, not because of that, but because you're.
Like I'll get
you're kind of flirtatious, and Viviana. Okay, I was being nice.
Flirtatious, and Viviana is alluring.
And she's alluring, exactly. Yeah. So that was really why I thought
they could bag it.
And I was like, they could get it. Yeah. But whatever, whatever. We can talk about later. But I mean, I would have been down, but you know, that's what I was kind of like. Right. No offense or anything like that. But
no,
that's what I was thinking. But you guys and Viviana too. She's a graphic designer. She's doing her thing. I should have. Damn.
Graphic designer, web designer, calligrapher.
Oh my God, calligraphy.
She's ill.
Yes, you both are like a dynamic duo.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it. Yeah. This is what I'm waiting for my counterpart. You guys are a dynamic duo, and again, like I said, I'm so happy I've met you guys, and you guys are doing your thing.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Of course. So now, like you were saying about what you do at night. What'd you say? Eat dinner. Oh, and you love to cook too. You always be. He always makes video. What do you call? I don't know what you call him, but he's always making videos of his food and how he's doing it. Like, you do it in such a nice way. Make me wanna. But see, you do. I love fresh ingredients.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna complain about that. But as far as like when you juicing is my only issue because I feel like I need so many fruits just to juice for a little bit. How?
Well, it depends on the fruit.
Right.
Like I juiced a watermelon the other day.
That's what I was thinking about, the watermelon.
There's going to be a lot of juice.
Yeah.
Always.
But it's such a big ass thing. It seems like too much work.
So I primarily now juice pineapple and watermelon. Those are the two things I juice. I pretty much only juice those two things. Like I'm not into kale.
That's what I was like. Oh.
Apples anymore. Like I juice, three things: pineapples, watermelon, and ginger. Those are the three things.
You mix that? That's one drink.
No.
Oh, you mix.
So
okay.
Like I'll juice pineapple
with
juice. Put them in mason jars. Put some in an ice tray and make pineapple ice. I do the same with watermelon. Mm-hmm. And ginger, I just juice it so I can always put some ginger in my tea.
Okay.
Or if I want to put it in the watermelon juice or the pineapple juice. I just want to keep ginger in me all the time.
Ginger is very good for you. Yeah. Very good for you. I just started chewing because I was feeling like I was getting sick like a few weeks ago. So I just was chewing ginger like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And usually I have like a cycles when I'm about to get sick. I already feel it, like I feel something, then my throat is annoying me all day. Then I start to get sick. So I hate the throat part. That's like my worst part. So I was trying to beat that. So I was just chewing ginger and just sucking all the juice out of it. And I was good the next day. I was like, oh shit, I did it.
It's real. Food is really the medicine.
It is. The good food. Ginger, garlic, even chewing garlic alone. Like, I had a nutritionist on my last my last season. She came on and she was amazing, giving good tips on stuff to eat and what not to eat. Since I had my gastric sleeve surgery, y'all already know, last year, September, it's been a year and a few days now. Oh no, a year and a month now. But I just swore I was going to just be eating right and eating kale and fruiting and juicing and nothing. But once I was able to get my shit together and eat again, I have not been juicing like I planned to. But when I see you juicing, that like gives me kind of motivation. You know what, Adrian, you need to get your shit and get on this juicing thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good look.
It's really good.
It is.
Watermelon juice is really delicious.
It is. I've had it before.
Pineapple juice is really, so it's like it's easier to do if you're juicing things that are actually really delicious and not doing it out of
I'd rather pay for it. But it gets expensive at some point, so it's better to do it yourself. Like there's no excuse for my.
You know what it is? Also, like just generally, I think it's about just doing things that future you will not regret. Like you don't necessarily have to juice a watermelon or juice anything necessarily, but like if it's between a smoothie or a store-bought juice, fresh juice, and an Italian cheeseburger. Like, just choose the thing that you want.
I would choose
later.
the cheeseburger, and then I would regret it later. Like I'm an impulsive person, so I will say, you know what, I'm not having a cheeseburger tomorrow. I'm having my juice, and I'll make my little smoothie. Yeah. And I'll walk past a sign or a billboard of a burger and be like, oh, fuck. Yeah, right. And then I'm weak. Right. Then I'm weak. Like, you know what? Fuck it. I might as well just do it, you know? Right. So that's one thing I am working on. I mean, luckily I can't eat as much as I used to. Now my stomach is like a fist now, so I can't eat as much as I used to. But I've known people who have my surgery and they still get it a few years later because their stomach expanded because they were doing the bullshit. Yes. And I'm not trying to be that person because I don't ever want the surgery again. It was not easy to do. So there are times when I think my body is calling for certain things when, like, if I have like 3 grapes, I'm like, damn, I need more grapes. So then I'll buy a whole bunch of fruits and stuff. So I think my body is telling me like, yo, you need this stuff that, you know what I'm saying? So I'm working on doing better with my eating habits and fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. But I'm like a beef lover and crab legs. Shellfish. It's not that great for you. No. I think. Because of the... Let me not stop giving false information. No, my parents used to try to scare me into things like this because I ate too much of it. You eat too many eggs, that's bad for cholesterol. No, so shellfish is not too good because of all the iron or non-iron. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. So certain things, of course, too much of one thing is not too good anyway. So that's whatever. But I'm trying to get it together. I will get it together. Moving along to your nightly things. So you're gonna give us a hint?
No, it was a joke. I don't have I'm not.
Now I don't trust you.
Moonlighting as not a dancer nowhere or was a gigolo or nothing like that.
Okay. You know. All right. So I guess I'll move on past that. Can we talk about shrooms?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Shrooms. So you were I did shrooms in college one time, and I didn't feel.
I should have. Sorry.
I'll follow you back to your house now. Don't play with me. I will go home with you and get some shoes. But when I first started taking shrooms, again, with my ex, and we were doing it more of a recreational type of thing. But at the same time, whenever I took shrooms, I always had these thoughts in my head.
Like profound thoughts?
Profound thoughts. So I knew it was something more to it. But I was like, the time that I was with my ex, you know, I thought I was confident enough and I thought I was powerful enough and everything like that. But I realized after me and him broke up that I wasn't really who I thought I was. You know what I'm saying? I walk around I would wear whatever I want to wear. I'm a bubbly person. You know how I am. So people always thought I was like fully confident and 100% me, always happy, but it was like a facade. I was a little bit confident. I had a I don't give a fuck attitude, which I always had that attitude. But at the same time, it's like I gave a little bit of fucks, you know? And so after my surgery, I had healing to do. And me and him broke up because I was evolving. And he wasn't liking that. He was like, I don't like this new bitch you've become. And but I'm like, okay, well, then that means it's time for you to go. So we actually broke up. And I'm making it sound like it was easy, which it kind of wasn't as bad as I thought. I was sad for like a few weeks or whatever. And then I moved on because I realized I was wasting my time for that year. I was with him. Not even a year, 10 months. And so the time that I had through healing from September to December, I caught COVID in December and I was in the hospital for like 5 days. Then I had pneumonia. I had COVID pneumonia. Then in January, I had pneumonia. And that was because I wasn't taking vitamins for my surgery. So I had a weak immune system. Right. So I had from September to January of just me time. You know, I wasn't going out. I was just keeping to myself and contemplating so much, not realizing I was going through like a spiritual evolving thing, or mentally, spiritually, mentally, spiritually, and physically. You know? So I used to want, you ever heard of ayahuasca? Okay, so I was trying, me and my ex-boyfriend at the time were trying to do ayahuasca. But every time, well, no, we tried to do ayahuasca, but we didn't have people that we knew. The people that we knew were doing wachuma, which is the cactus plant. And so at the time we were still trying to get to it, but every weekend that they had the ceremony, I wasn't available. I had something going on. So it wasn't until after I broke up with him. I had my surgery in September. I broke up with him in October. And then in February, the same people that I was trying to link up with last month, they're like, you know, we're having a ceremony. Are you free? And I was like, yes. Now, I didn't realize that all the healing I was doing was leading me up to the moment to go to my retreat. So I paid for the retreat. I thought it was ayahuasca, but when I got there, they said it's yahe. And yahe is a different version of ayahuasca. It's more of an older version of ayahuasca. It's still a plant medicine. So when I was at the cabin, we were on sacred land, so they had rented a cabin. It was 12 of us. But I had no reception, so I couldn't look up what the hell yahe was. So I was just like, oh my God. But I was still excited to all that. So that was in March now. So first of all, January came. I took some shrooms in January. Because I was writing a book about a memoir I was writing. So I was like, okay, New Year's Eve, I'm not going out. I'm going to take shrooms. I'm going to write my memoir, and I'm just going to, that's it. I felt like I OD'd on shrooms.
You decided to write a memoir in one night off mushrooms?
Off mushrooms.
That was the plan?
That was my plan.
Okay,
so do you know when I started taking the shrooms? Like within, first of all, now mind you, this is the first time I took shrooms since I had my surgery. So I this was my plan. Watch my show for an hour till it kicks in, turn it off, start writing. Within 20 minutes of watching my show, my eyes start feeling the shit. I was like, whoa, okay. So then I was like, all right, I can't watch the show. Let me turn it off and just sit here and just appreciate. 10 minutes after that, I'm tripping now. Now I'm like, everything is moving. The trees. Now I have my apartment building. The windows are like this right here. So I could see the building across from me, and that whole building was like doing all this. The trees was moving. So now I'm starting to freak out. I was like, wait a minute. I'm not writing anything today. I called my therapist, y'all. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. And she sounded scared as hell. When I realized how scared she sounded, I was like, okay, this is the wrong person to call. So I was like, no.
You did mushrooms?
Yeah. And she was with her family at the time because she seemed like she didn't know what to do. She like texted me a help number to call. I was like, damn, it's not that serious. So what I did was I decided to just go into bed, close my eyes, and just let it be. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when I started feeling the profound things I started feeling before. That was the first time I hugged myself since my surgery. And I was already 50 pounds lighter. So I was like, wow, I never did this. Then I'm feeling my face. My face is smaller. So it was like I turned the negative into a positive of how I was feeling, because I was starting to trip out. So that was January. And also for January, I felt like it would be a different year. You know, every year we say new year, new me. No, this year I felt something different. So I did the yahe ceremony, and we did it. It was for the weekend, but we did it 2 nights in a row. The first night I did my yahe ceremony was more of a profound feeling of who I am, as far as my greatness and why I'm here on this earth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I started realizing, like, you know, you keep downplaying your greatness. You know you're extra. You know you're a diva. You know your voice is your power. Stop trying to be like, you know, when people give you compliments, stop saying, well, you know, I need to fix this. You know what I'm saying? It was like little things like that.
Right.
So even with that, it was showing me the relationship I have with my mother, how to make it better. You know, now when we take the tea, we take it in a ceremonious way. We pray, we have music, chanting, everything like that. Everyone goes one by one to take the tea. And because of my surgery, it was hitting me quicker than everyone else too. You know, some people took 45 minutes. It took me quick, you know. So it was a lot of purging going on. But that's when I was like, wow, that was deep. So when they said the next day it's going to be more of a profound experience, I'm like, how is this going to top what happened last night?
Right.
Yo, Starski. The next night, it took a little bit longer for the tea to hit me.
Okay.
And now this is Yahe, not ayahuasca. Yahe, the next night, literally woke my spirit up. Because when they say stay up, and then we start to feel it, lay down. So I started to feel it, so I laid down, and then I started taking like deep breaths that I never took before, like to the point where
like,
I could control.
Or
no,
your body just...
my body was just doing it.
Yeah.
And then it was to the point where my body now was moving, like I was like,
yeah.
And that inhale, it was like a spirit waking up. And so I thought it was like my ancestor waking up in me. I didn't realize till later on what it was. So then now I'm hearing My Lovely Lunatic Leo Life in my head over and over and repeat. And I just see a figure. Now Yahe has like a hallucinogen in it. So I'm just seeing a figure like blowing life into My Lovely Lunatic Leo Life. And so I'm feeling the power, and the spirit in me that was waking up felt like a warrior queen from 2010 BC or something. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt like powerful. And so that's why I thought it was the ancestor waking up in me. And so I'm starting to see all these visions, and I'm starting to show my power. Like, you're not just who you think you are. You're more than what you think you are. So that experience alone was like, wow. So I felt amazing. I felt on top of the world. But then it's like a few months after that, it's like life starts coming, and then I'm starting to be a human again. I'm like, maybe I've thought all the shit in my head from what I felt from the medicine. So July was my 40th birthday. I went to Zanzibar by myself for my solo trip. And then August was ayahuasca. Now it's real ayahuasca. So we did that for the weekend. No offense, Yahe. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. No offense. But now I did Wachuma with my mother in May.
What's Wachuma?
Wachuma is a cactus plant. It's called the grandfather plant medicine. It's a cactus plant that's not as potent as ayahuasca, but it still brings you into certain levels into your ancestors and helps you.
With your mom?
With my mom, because my mom's been trying to connect with me for so long. Like we don't have a great relationship. So she's heard Anthony Bourdain talk about ayahuasca. So when she knew I was doing the first retreat, she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that." So after that, I told her what happened. She was like, "I'm gonna do it with you." But Wachuma was what was there. So we both did it, but we didn't feel nothing from it. Like, we went with a bunch of people. We met beautiful people. We were in the Bear Mountains overnight. It was rainy. It was cold, but we were all under a huge fire pit or whatever. But we didn't feel anything. It was more like meditating all night, pretty much, you know? So she was like, I didn't feel nothing and blah, blah, blah. So now she wanted to do ayahuasca with me, but the price was too much. She couldn't afford it, you know, and I couldn't afford both of us. So when I did ayahuasca now, it showed me that there's levels to this. When I did my Yahe, brought me to the point where I'm able to take ayahuasca. So when I took the ayahuasca now, the first night, because I but I was doubting who the fuck I am. It was showing me like, no, you are who you are. Oh, and one thing with Yahe, it started getting me into tarot reading. I always was into tarot reading, but now it's like I found on YouTube. Now I'm really into tarot reading. So I was watching YouTube readers and all this. So sometimes I was like, I felt like they were talking to me. You know what I'm saying? But mind you, they're talking. This is general, so you're talking to thousands of people. But I felt like some of the messages were me. So the first night of ayahuasca, some of my ancestors were like, we are talking to you through them. You know what I'm saying? And even though I don't see my ancestors, I always feel sometimes, like, especially when I take shrooms, I feel them around me. Once I started taking shrooms after Yahe is when I started feeling the reason why I'm supposed to be taking shrooms, not for recreational. So I would take shrooms at night, and I would just sit in the dark, and I would just let the messages come to me.
So I'm a stickler for words, right? and it's not a good thing. It just is, right? And when you say not for recreation, like, I think we have a inaccurate view of recreation. Like what recreation? Like we're taught recreation as
fun,
schoolyard play.
Right.
That's recreation, right? Recreation is literally recreation.
Oh, so recreation ain't
like
bad.
Recreation is relaxed play that allows you to be in a space to be a creator.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like it's not aimless play. You know what I mean? It's not useless play. It's not immature play. It's not foolishness. You know what I'm saying? And recreation is medicine. You know what I mean? Like recreation is used in ways that make you think it's not medicine or profound or important or valuable. Like we hear about recreation in terms of schoolyard play and drug use or alcohol use that's not prescribed by a doctor. You know what I mean? And it's like, that is just Western colonial thinking, and B, it's thinking that's not rooted in a whole person.
Right.
It's thinking that's rooted in a person as a tool. Like students in school in the Western world are tools. You know what I mean? And so the language and the vocabulary around that is as a tool. Like,
okay.
So there is nothing wrong with recreational mushrooms, recreational cannabis, it's not.
It's not a bad thing. It's not like you're just fucking around.
No.
Okay,
no.
thank you for that, because that's what I felt like it was.
And you need to fuck around. You also need to fuck around a little bit in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to fuck around so that you know the difference between fucking around and being serious. You know?
True that.
Play is
it's
divine.
Ooh.
Play is absolutely divine. Like, I remember, I forget, the guy's name is Alan Watts. He had this talk, and he's dead. But he had this talk I was listening to one time. He was talking about play. He's like, life at its essence is play. It's like, whenever you hear somebody talk about being a musician, music is played. Music is not immature. Music is not foolish. Music is not useless. Music is incredibly profound. Music is incredibly serious. Music is incredibly healing. But you only use the word play when you talk about what you do with music. You play songs, you play instruments.
True.
Like, it is play. You know what I mean? And so like play is not this bastardized thing that we kind of think of it as because of this Western society and culture, and fuckery. Like play is the shit.
You're right. Oh, I'm glad you said that, because that's very good to know. That's very good to know, because when I say recreational, I don't mean it, but you're right. It does mean recreation. So that's good to know. And so, you know what? You got a lot of gems there. You got a lot of gems. Tommy got some gems for us, y'all. No, but I appreciate that, because that changed my whole view. Or at least the way I say things now, because I would always say I don't do it recreational, but recreation is not a bad thing.
I remember the first time I did mushrooms, and the reason why I knew it was something I was going to do again. So when I first did it, Vivi and I did it together, and the person that told us about it and that we got them from, she had done it with her boyfriend, and they had like a very beautiful romantic experience off it. They were just, cuddling and in each other's face, and just so intimate with each other. And so that was the expectation that that's what mushrooms do.
Not for you.
It's not what, and like Viviana needs no mushrooms to be romantic, right? Like, that's not even. So, but for me, the only effect that it had on me was I had this profound episode of laughter. Like I had the purest laugh I've ever had, and it sustained for like like a good 5 minutes.
Wow.
Like literal 5 minutes of laughter. Of something that wasn't all that funny. You know what I mean? But it was like the laughing was so pure that it wasn't something that I felt I needed to resist or curtail. You know, it's like, okay, well, I'm laughing. And until I don't feel like laughing, I'm going to just keep laughing. And we just kept laughing and kept laughing. And it was so pure and so beautiful. And so it was like, oh, I get to tap into a purity.
Your inner child.
That my inner child in a way that nothing else I've ever experienced, you know, had done. And then there have been like profound thoughts, realizations, and conversations. And I think that it kind of just attunes you to know that there is a place to access, like mentally and emotionally. Like there is somewhere that you can and should be accessing from time to time.
It's
there
true.
There is this profound place of what is, for me, the truth of me and the truth of the world. Oh man, I had this, and imagination is like a big thing, because like we talk again. That's another thing. Like we talk about it in a way that kind of dilutes what it is. Like we talk about like with mushrooms, we talk about tripping, right? And it kind of is not really the best word, or the connotation probably.
It's the white man who made that word, you know.
Yeah, but like, not even. Oh, I had this. This is not even a mushroom thing. I don't even know if I don't know if I had smoked bud or anything at this point for this. But one day I was I just want to tell this story. One day I was in the gym, and I'm listening to, you know, Lady Smith, Black Mambazo. They're no judgment.
Okay. I don't be knowing.
I'm judging.
I don't be knowing, y'all.
So there's this vocal group, African vocal group, right? And there's like 20 of them.
Oh,
and
damn.
they sing in harmony. All men. They sing in harmony. Beautiful voices, beautiful sounds. They were doing like a lot of like when The Lion King first came out, or certain songs that had like this African setting. Like they would be the group that was put on the soundtrack to sing a song.
Okay.
So I'm listening to them, and I don't know why I'm listening to them in the gym anyway, but I was, right? But I had this episode where like it was just my imagination, but I was willing to submit to my imagination, right? And it was of my ancestors. So the reason I work out for a couple of reasons, one of which is the exercise of self-discipline.
Okay.
Like, I do not want to work out, ever.
I hate it.
Right? It's not
I can't
the thing
tell.
I want to be doing. I do not want to be out of breath at the top of a flight of stairs. I do not ever want to have to fight for my life and just not have it. Or defend a loved one and not have it.
Right.
Like, I want to have it when I need it. So that's the reason why I work out, right? But I'm in the gym, and the song is playing, and it's just these African voices, African, you know, lyrics and whatnot. And I have this episode, and I'm thinking about how, like, my ancestors are in the room. Like, I'm imagining them in the room with me, right? And I'm imagining them telling me, like, we're with you all the time, whether you see us or not, whether you realize it or not, right? And in your life, in the things that are constant challenges, in the things that are frustrations, and in the things where you excel, like, we're with you. And it's the difference between playing basketball on a court, just playing ball, and playing basketball with the home team crowd
Behind you.
cheering
Oh, hell
behind
yeah.
you. Like, it's a very different experience. And so it's like, so to know that that's what's happening.
Wow.
All I have to do is like open my eyes and turn around, and they're there. And it made me realize that, like, there is so much more that we have the capability to see and to achieve or do it's just about what world are we seeing? Like, what are we seeing? You know what I mean? Everybody's seeing a different thing. And for so many of us and so much of our lives, we're told what to see. And it's a very limited picture.
Very limited.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
my
these
God.
things are never in the picture. You know, like, we're never taught to see our support. We're taught to pull ourselves up by a bootstrap.
Right.
Like, that's the
Yes.
that's the message that we're getting. Many people have your back. You know what I mean? And so, like, it was just so profound for me. And I still, like I said, I hadn't done anything. I hadn't consumed any substance that day. But I still credit, like, the fact that I had done mushrooms and I had accessed that type of thinking before, that I was able to access it this time.
Wow. That's dope, because I always say whenever I take shrooms is when I connect with my ancestors. And even when I'm sitting in the dark, I literally feel things going past me. I'm hearing it, you know what I'm saying? My cat, she always comes right next to me. She's with me and looking around. Like, it's when my ancestors are there. One time, one of my friends was bringing me something, and I don't like to go outside around when I'm on shrooms. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So I had to go downstairs and go get it from her, and I just felt weird being outside. So when I was coming back inside in the elevator, I knew I was the only one in the elevator, but I felt surrounded. Surrounded to the point where even though I knew I was in there, I looked back like, you know what I'm saying? And that was the first time I was like, yo, my people follow me everywhere I go. That's when I feel them, and that's when I like they talk to me, you know what I'm saying? So when I did ayahuasca now 2 nights in a row, the first night was profound. The second night, I was like, how is it going to beat the first night? Initially I had asked to speak to, like, I wanted to be able to connect with my ancestors without having to take shroom. So that was what one of my, we had to write down what we wanted and to take from the ayahuasca. So the man who was administering the ayahuasca, he brought all these oracle decks, and I was going through just pulling one card from each deck, like, what am I going to see from this weekend? So one deck, the Lemuria oracle deck, had... Yo, this is crazy. It said, I gotta find it because it blew my mind, and I didn't realize it till later on. Okay, so it said merging with the divine was what the card said. Okay. And in merging with the divine, you read what it means, but then it also says all these other things. But this is the image of the card, merging with the divine, right? And so it's soul star chakra. I knew all the chakras, but I didn't know there was a soul star chakra, which is about 6 inches above your head. So that was Friday night. I took it. So Saturday, when we did it, this time we did it outside. And so there was only 6 of us taking it, and outside. Before I went to, now another thing that happened is my intuition and my, like, psychic abilities have gotten stronger. So on Saturday night when we were going to be outside, I was like, yo, what would happen if when I take ayahuasca, it like makes me like catapult to the space, like and in my mind, I'm like, how am I going to land? Like, is it going to drop me back on earth? Am I going to die landing, or is it going to bring me back softly, you know? So that was the weird part. So when I take my ayahuasca outside now, mind you, it was cold as hell. It was summertime, it was August, but we were in upstate New York, 4 hours away. So, and the things that were happening in the sky on the way there, like everything was just, I felt like we were entering a portal of protection. I saw an eagle fly across us. The clouds was like turquoise purple. It was, turquoise blue. It was crazy. So Saturday night we took it, and I was like, what if I go to the stars or whatever? So when I finally take my ayahuasca, I know when it's starting to come, because like black starts to come down, and I feel it. Like, I purge a lot, you know. So because I purged before everyone else, the people was telling me what they saw me doing. I'm gonna tell you that later. So when I take my ayahuasca, I went to multi-dimensions. Like, I was not on Earth. It was like 6 different places. Some places felt home, and some places felt beneath me. Like, I felt honestly, not on some cocky shit. I felt like the daughter of the universe, because the way it was allowing me to just go to places when I wanted to, when I wasn't ready. And I literally was seeing things. I was literally hearing things. Like, nothing. I wasn't around the people I was with just a few minutes ago. So it's like I'm going to different planets, and in some places I was a creature because I felt like I wasn't breathing. So that was later on the next day. No, when I came home on Sunday, I forgot about the card I pulled. And then I read what the card meant. And it talked about multi-dimensions and everything. And it said, like, people always assume that you just have a human form. Right. I wanted to speak to my ancestors, thinking only of my human ancestors, not knowing that I connected with other creatures that were my ancestors. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And it was like to the point where I was at one point. Now, when this happens, you're kind of conscious of everything that's going on. You might not remember later on, but you're unless you write it down. Right. So I'm conscious of what's going on. So I'm aware that I can't move my body. I'm aware that I'm hearing something and I'm too scared to look at what the sound I'm hearing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm trying to remember everything that's going on. At one point, I was hearing literal creature sounds, but being that it was so cold, I was freezing cold, and I was under the covers. And at some point, it was like I couldn't move my body. So it's like I couldn't lift it to see where I was. Yeah. Sometimes grandmother ayahuasca lifted my body up when I thought I couldn't get up, and this made me see things. You know what I'm saying? That image I showed you from the card was the second place I visited, and it was like I saw those colors, and then I put my hand up, and at the time I had my nails on, and my nails were slowly growing inside of that image, but it was like with white spider webs around it. You know what I'm saying? So it was showing me that, but it was also telling me that I'm very powerful. Yeah. More than what I thought, like not just a regular person. Yeah. Now I'm like thinking I'm an alien type shit, you know what I'm saying? But the human experiences always bring us down to where you feel like maybe you imagine it, because this is the transparency part I was going to talk about. I know I'm a dope person with a good heart, good intentions, not evil at all. I've been struggling with the part of being single for most of my life. Okay. But I always kind of knew, like, I can't be with just a regular person. It has to be a special person because I'm not I'm like, you know, like, he got to match my fly. You know, so I've always had issues with being in relationships or chasing after the wrong person because I want it so bad. So lately, now that I'm 40, I've been feeling kind of down because I'm ready to be with somebody, and I do kind of want kids. I'm not sure yet, but I feel like I'm almost at the point where I need to either have them now or just forget about it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So I've been kind of in a down place where just 2 days ago, I was cursing out the universe and my ancestors. Like, you know what? I'm tired of this shit. You guys keep doing this. Like, why am I here? And it was just frustration. It's just frustration to being single and dealing with fuckery. Dating is not easy nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So I felt almost broken because it's like, I know I'm such a good person, dope soul, and I'm above average human. Like, I feel like I am, not to be conceited, seriously, but a higher level spiritual being. Okay. But I'm still struggling with my human side. So it's like putting me between a rock and a hard place, because it's like, I know I'm this spiritual person, but am I really, if I'm feeling this kind of way? Cursing out the universe who, you better be careful, you know what I'm saying? So I've been going through this lately, and it's like, I want to get to the point where I don't need mushrooms or ayahuasca to be able to get back to this, because every time I do that, I feel so good, and I'm like, yo, I know I'm the shit. But then I go through events that lead me and bring me back down to my human self.
Yeah. What is it about needing ayahuasca or mushrooms that turns you off, or that you want to get away from?
Because ayahuasca is expensive. Like, if I could, I would have done this shit every weekend. You know, because I feel like I'm getting closer to my spiritual side and to my ancestors. So I don't have anything against doing ayahuasca or shrooms, but I don't want to have to keep taking it in order to feel closer to my spiritual side or my ancestors.
I hear you. So pardon me. I don't mean to talk. I'm not talking down to you. But hearing you say that makes me think about how we view substances as a thing that is outside of us, right? And there's also a school of thought that I am made up of the universe, and the universe is made up of me, and so literally there is nothing that's outside of me. Like, it's just physically outside of my body, but it's not there is no other.
True.
we're all just part of one big thing. You know, it's like the table and the chair. The room is the room. Like we're just things in the room. You know what I mean? And the use of mushrooms, ayahuasca, meditation, like all of these things are tools for our greater awareness. You know what I mean? It's like saying, I wish I didn't need music to dance. Mm. It's like, well, technically you don't, but there is nothing wrong with music, like asking for a song when you're in the mood to dance. Right. You know, like it is part of the thing, you know? And because ayahuasca and mushrooms are things that you encountered later in life, it's like it feels like they're not natural. Because like, surely I was given all the natural things when I was a child, and everything else is extracurricular. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, they're not extracurricular. Like everything is natural. You know, there are some people who believe there is no such thing as unnatural. Mm-hmm. If it exists, it's natural.
Is that right?
You know what I mean? But I say that to say like there is something to be said for not villainizing anything that is clearly beneficial and healthy.
Yeah.
Like for your higher self. You know what I mean? So like not villainizing the use of mushrooms or ayahuasca or yahi to get you to a place. It's like villainizing the plane for getting you across the country. True. It's like, all right, yeah, but I wish I could walk. Oh, well, you can. Technically, you can, but like, don't be mad at me. Like, you know what I mean? Right, right. And everything is for your use. Like everything is a tool for you to use. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So like, all of that stuff. So much of what we think is good, right, righteous, worthy, was given to us through a lens that is not universal. There's universal, and then there's everything else. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Light is universal. Water is universal. Like the fact that they know that water exists on other planets. Right. Like everybody needs this shit. Water is universal. Light is universal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Sound is universal. Like we know that. Mm-hmm. So it's really more so about like rewiring the lens that we see things through. You know, or refining the lens or changing the lens that we see things. Because it's like... Yeah, I agree. You know, it's like, yeah, ayahuasca, fine. Every weekend if you need to. Okay. Like it won't be a thing that you'll abuse. No. I've never heard of somebody abusing ayahuasca. Because you'll keep leveling up every time. Or you'll get to a place where it doesn't have the same effect. It's not as profound. And you do need to, you will feel the need to like take more time in between. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because it's like tuning an instrument. It's like... But you know what? Honestly, after my ayahuasca experience, mm-hmm. I was so like... I was overwhelmed because I was overwhelmed by the power I realized I had, mm-hmm. and the fact that I was in other dimensions, like not of Earth. So when I was talking, after the next day after we did ayahuasca, the group, we sat down and we talked about what we experienced. Mm-hmm. You know, I couldn't wait. You know, my voice is my power. So I was like, I need to go first because I needed to get it off my chest. So it was me like going through what was happening. But when I got home, I cried. Mm-hmm. I cried and cried because I was like, yo, what the fuck was that? Yeah. Am I bugging? Yeah. Or am I really worthy? Am I really this powerful? And it's not like I would use my power for anything bad. It's just showing me that, it showed me pretty much that I'm like a starseed and my mission on Earth, which, you know what I learned? What I always used to tell people is my purpose on Earth is to live my life and explain it to people and show people so that they can find their own happiness. That's what I used to tell people. Mm-hmm. I'm here to live my life so you can find your happiness watching me. But what I saw during ayahuasca is basically that, like, you're here to help people's souls
find happiness.
Yeah.
You're here to let them know your experiences. This is why you go through the things that you feel is too tough to deal with, because you got to be strong enough to have the weight of, not the weight, it sounds dramatic to say, but the weight of humanity on your shoulders. But that's not really the case. But it's just like, I'm here to help other people.
Yeah.
That's my purpose.
Yeah.
And that was showing me, this is why I talk all the time. This is why I'm on the microphone. This is why I'm supposed to be on the radio, to let people know my experiences so they can find their own happiness, or to encourage them to find their happiness, or to inspire them to find their happiness. You know, so even though it plays a small part, a lot of people here on this earth are here for certain reasons to help humanity. You know what I'm saying? And so it just overwhelmed me with all the power that I realized that I have, because I'm like, I'm not using it to my capabilities. I feel weak sometimes when I'm in my human form. And so that's the part that frustrates me, because I know my power, but then I act weak sometimes.
So, two things about that. One, power. So I think of power as the ability to say yes, right? Whereas, for the most part, we're taught power as the ability to say no. Like, who's got power? The bouncer at the door. Because he can tell somebody, no, you can't come in here. Well, his actual power is he can tell somebody, yes, you can come in here. You know what I mean? Like, that's his power. True. The yes is the power. And, like, with all of us, power is the ability to say yes. It's like I don't talk to people who don't have the power to say yes. You know what I mean? If I'm doing business somewhere and I'm talking to somebody who can't say yes, I'm talking to the wrong person. Because everybody can say no. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody has enough power to be like, no, you can't do that. But there's somebody who can say, yes, you can, and then everybody under them falls in line with that yes. So, like, that's what power is. Power is the ability to say yes. It's the ability to open the door. It's the ability to make opportunity available. That power is about the yes. Other thing is,
yes, talk that shit, my brother.
You are powerful. Like, and even in feeling weak, like, I remember somebody said this, is like, you know, if you exercise in the gym, that's when you feel weak, when you're building strength. Nothing makes me feel weaker than lifting weights. You know what I mean? It's like being, or I just talked about in finances. It's like saving money makes you feel poor. Because you can't. It's
at the moment.
Frivolous. You can't spend. You can't. You know what I mean? But it's building your financial health and power. So like it feels like the opposite. That's the proof that it's strength. It feels like weakness. That's a proof that it's power. It's not weakness.
That makes me feel so much better.
Like you wouldn't know what weakness felt like if you were just a weak person. You can only know it because you know what strength feels like. You know what power feels like.
Oh, that's so encouraging. That makes me feel so much better. No, seriously, like I feel so much better. Like, where were you 2 days ago? Like, I really was yelling at the universe.
Yeah.
I felt so weak, and I felt ashamed that I felt this way. Like, I know my power, but why am I letting this affect me this way? But you're right.
It's like because your eyes have been opened, because you know the capacity, because you know the depth, you know the span, you know the possibility. You know what I mean? It's like in the Bible talks about like Jesus, you know, in the nights before he died, it was like, not that he cursed God, but he was like, you know, what the fuck?
So we all have that moment. You know like, yo, what the fuck, yo? Yeah. What the fuck you got me here for? Why?
Yeah. It's like, it's that.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's what I went through the other day.
That's what it is. That's all it is.
It's
you
crazy.
know how sweet and beautiful and broad and grand it can be. And whatever is in front of you is like, it ain't that. So what the fuck? You know what I mean?
So we go through it. That helps me a lot. That really helped me. What do you think your purpose in life is? What are you here for? I like to ask my guests these questions because I realize my purpose.
That's a good question. I'm not sure if have a definitive answer for that.
There's no definitive answer.
I think, well, you have one.
Well, ayahuasca showed me the way.
I think my purpose, or a purpose, I could say, is to be an expression of this recipe. This recipe being like how I was raised, the pains that I've felt, the heartbreaks that I've felt, the victories that I've experienced, the accomplishments that I've experienced, the power that I know that I have, the opinions that I have. Like, I don't think that anything about me is right. I think all of it is right for me. So it's my responsibility, and then by extension my purpose, to show up as that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, there's like, whether it's being flirtatious, whether it's being generous, whether it's being impatient, whether it's being imaginative and creative, whether it's being serious, like all of those things that I am, my purpose is to be that, to be truthfully me. You know, and just be this example. Like, I think you're an example. I think we're all an example of an expression of life.
Right.
So I think ultimately all of our responsibility and purpose is to be honestly ourselves. So I know this expression. Like, I can learn from this if there's clarity and you're actually you, and vice versa.
Wow, that's big. That's big. It's be yourself.
Yeah.
Because
as you evolve and change.
Yeah. Evolving and changing, even though you might think you're flawed and everything, everyone is flawed. But the flaw is actually...
I don't think so.
You don't think everyone is flawed? Why not?
No. Flawed based on what, though?
That's a good question. I guess on society, what society thinks is flawed. Like, how I feel I'm flawed with my human emotion side and... Damn, good question.
So, there's another thing that was... I got into the habit of taking long... And I don't want to kill time, I know.
No, it's okay.
We got to move on. But I got into the habit of taking long, hot baths, right? And more so for sweating.
Okay.
Right, like just as this like lymphatic thing, like sweat out, you know, for the sake of my skin, just sweat. And one day I was in the tub and I had this realization. Like, I was thinking about, like, why do I procrastinate? Like, what is the source reason? Because it's not about how I feel about that thing, that task. It's like, why do I procrastinate as a habit? Like, why do I do that? And I arrived at the idea that I was taught from the very beginning that at my core, like the core of who I am and the core of who everybody is, I am an imperfect sinner. Like, that idea was ingrained in me. And so I had that view of myself. And so as an imperfect sinner, that means that I am innately unworthy of not just perfection, but of grandness. Like, being subpar is built in and baked in to humans.
Yeah.
Right? So we talk about, like, I'm only human. That's kind of the thing we're talking about when we say things like that, right? And I don't know that to be true. I know that that's an idea that I was taught. Right. But I don't know that that's actually true. And I also don't know that there's anything else. So I decided to abandon the idea. Like, that's not true for me or anybody else. I'm not an imperfect sinner at the core. I'm perfect at the core. I'm perfect and bespoke. I'm perfect and I am a one of one. And when I make a mistake, that's a perfect thing for somebody else to learn a lesson. Right. And for me to learn a lesson. So, like, everything is perfect. Like, perfect doesn't mean without pain. It doesn't mean without struggle. It doesn't mean that you achieve everything you want to achieve. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like perfect is, does it have divine value? Mm-hmm. And my fuck ups have divine value.
They sure do. It shapes us.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the things that I have as strengths and convictions are because of examples that I saw that were weaknesses and you know, uncertainties or what have you. It's like if I saw my parents fuck up and I decided in response I'm gonna be the opposite of that, then that thing was perfect.
Right.
Like how could I call it not perfect? Like it did the thing. Perfect is the thing that does a task.
Right.
A hammer is perfect if you're trying to drive a nail in. Nobody considers a hammer a perfect thing though, but it is. So as far as the use of it, it's like as far as the use of what I'm doing and what I'm being, and everything else and what it's doing is being, everything is perfect, including me, including you,
including y'all too,
including you.
Wow,
Yeah.
That was good. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We need to hear that. We need to hear that. Well, on that note, you done wrapped up the end of the show. That was pretty profound. That was amazing. Great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. It was a great conversation, and it was almost therapeutic because the last few days have been tough for me. So I'm glad this is the first time I spoke about it.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, y'all. So we are wrapping up season 3, y'all. We only have a few more episodes left. Okay. I gotta pee first. Hold on. I've been holding it, but I was like, I'm waiting for the good time. But now I know what I'm about to say, so I won't forget it. Hold on. Don't pick me up. This is fucking alcohol.
Let me see my phone too.